seller's market. SellRealEstatePA.com. SellRealEstatePA.com. The seller's market. SellRealEstatePA.com. SellRealEstatePA.com.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Seller's Market. I'm Josh Wernick, a realtor serving Bucks County, Montgomery County, the Main Line, and Chestnut Hill areas of Pennsylvania. And today we're hitting the road again for a trip I've been planning out for a while, and it did not disappoint. Today we are going to the Main Line, so buckle up, grab a coffee, and let's take a tour of Pennsylvania's most prestigious corridor.
Let's go.
I'm going to save you the footage of the Pennsylvania Turnpike in the morning, and instead of looking at brake lights, we'll talk about the history of the Main Line until I get there. Now, if you're not from this area, the Main Line is a corridor of communities running west from Philadelphia along Lancaster Avenue, originally built along the Pennsylvania Railroad's main line of public works back in 1832. That's where the name comes from. And every single town along that corridor has its own identity, its own price point, its own school district situation, and its own very specific type of buyer. We're going to cover 8 towns today: Ardmore, Bryn Mawr, Villanova, Wayne, Devon, Berwyn, Paoli, and Malvern, driving west, the same direction the railroad built it. And I'm going to give you the honest picture of each one, not the brochure version, the actual version, including some observations I made on the ground that you are not going to hear from any other real estate agent. If you're thinking about buying on the Main Line, this episode is going to save you a lot of confusion. If you're thinking about selling on the Main Line, the market data in this video is going to give you the context that you need. And if you're just curious what the most expensive stretch of suburban Pennsylvania actually looks like, get ready. Before we get into the individual towns, I want to give you some context about what makes the Main Line different from the rest of Philadelphia's suburban market. The Main Line runs approximately 20 miles from Ardmore in the east to Malvern in the west. Each town along it is served by the SEPTA Regional Rail. The Paoli-Thorndale line runs the entire length of the corridor, connecting every single community directly to Center City. That infrastructure is baked into everything we're going to see today. The school districts on the Main Line are among the strongest in Pennsylvania. Lower Merion School District, Radnor Township School District, Tredyffrin East School District, Great Valley School District. These names mean something to every family that has done serious research on where to buy in the Philadelphia region, and they show up in every price comparison between the Main Line and surrounding communities. Now, here's the first honest observation I'm going to make about the Main Line, and this is one I made within about 4 minutes of driving Lancaster Avenue. Everyone on the Main Line is in a rush. I don't mean that as a criticism, I mean it as a genuine observation about the energy of this corridor. The people driving here, and yes, I'm going to say it, there are a lot of Land Rovers and Porsches, and they all seem to believe that they have the right of way regardless of what the traffic signals say or when they arrived at that stop sign. They are moving like they are already late for something important. There is an intensity to this corridor that you feel immediately when you're driving it for the first time. It reflects the demographic. There are high-achieving, high-income, time-scarce people, and the real estate market reflects that energy perfectly. Also, wherever you are on the Main Line, you are never far from a train station. Every few miles, another SEPTA platform appears, and you're ready to jump on the train and get out of there. That's not an accident. That's 190 years of infrastructure built around the assumption that the people who live here need to get somewhere fast. I could also make the same observation about Starbucks. There's a Starbucks on every corner, so don't worry about ever not having a Starbucks for your quick early morning commute. All right, our first stop today is Ardmore. Ardmore is the eastern entry point into Lower Merion Township, and I need to tell you something about Lower Merion Township right up front because it sets the context for everything we're about to see today. Lower Merion Township is the most expensive township in Pennsylvania by median home value, not the most expensive community on the Main Line, not one of the most expensive, the most expensive township in the entire state of Pennsylvania. That number reflects something real that has been compounding for over a century. Lower Merion School District, the physical setting, the SEPTA access, and the specific kind of community infrastructure that takes generations to build. Ardmore is the most accessible entry point into the township, and the first thing I noticed when I got out of the car and started walking around was this. They took an entire town and turned it into a walkable mall. That's like being in the mall, but there's no roof. Suburban Square has the same energy as a high-end outdoor shopping center. The Paper Source, Warby Parker, Sweet Green, Trader Joe's, Ardmore Farmers Market. Here's an up-close view of the Times building. Lululemon, a beautiful outdoor dining and patio area to sit and drink a cup of coffee. A restaurant strip that actually works. But instead of a parking structure surrounded by a highway interchange, there are residential streets in every direction, and the people who live here actually own the houses around it. That distinction matters. This is not a mall that was built in a suburb. This is a suburb that organized itself around a walkable commercial infrastructure in a way that most American communities never figured out. Suburban Square is the anchor, but what gives Ardmore its identity goes beyond the shopping. Ardmore Music Hall, right there on East Lancaster Ave, is one of the best mid-sized music venues in the Philadelphia region. A beautifully restored historic building that books serious artists and has a community following that has kept it thriving for years. The kind of cultural institution that exists in very few suburban communities at any price point. And then there's the Merion Golf Club. I drove past it, and I want to be clear, you can't just roll up into the Merion Golf Club. It's a private club, but the exterior, the grounds, the setting, Merion Golf Club has hosted more U.S. Open championships than any other golf course in America. It sits in the middle of a residential neighborhood in Ardmore, and the homes surrounding it are among the most coveted addresses in the township. This is what Lower Merion looks like from the outside when it's at its most itself. Now, here's the market reality for Ardmore specifically. Ardmore is the most affordable community within Lower Merion Township, which means it's your entry point into the most expensive township in Pennsylvania. Twins and row homes start in the mid-300s, larger single-family homes push into the 700s and 800s, and you get Lower Merion School District consistently ranked one of the top 1 to 5 statewide at prices that are meaningfully below what comparable square footage costs in Wynwood or Penn Valley or Gladwin further west into the township. For the buyer who specifically wants Lower Merion School District and is working with a budget that makes the western part of the township a stretch, Ardmore is frequently the answer. You sacrifice some of the quiet and the acreage, but you gain the walkability and the music hall and the outdoor with no roof, and for a lot of buyers, that trade is exactly right. One important thing to know about Ardmore School District assignments: some eastern Ardmore addresses feed Haverford Township School District rather than Lower Merion. Always verify the specific district for any address before you make it a factor in your decision. The zip code does not tell you. The specific municipal address does. Bryn Mawr. All right, moving west on Lancaster Avenue, we arrive in Bryn Mawr, and I want to lead with the single most distinctive thing about this community because it tells you everything you need to know about who lives here. There's an independent movie theater in the middle of Main Street, the Bryn Mawr Film Institute, right there on Lancaster Ave. It's a restored 1920s theater showing first-run independent films, classics, documentaries, and hosting a year-round calendar of film events and educational programs. This is not a Regal cinema. This is not a multiplex. This is a genuine independent cinema in a restored historic building that the community has chosen to support and sustain. The institution exists in maybe 20 American suburban communities. Its presence in Bryn Mawr is not an accident. It reflects exactly who lives here and what they value. Now, just a few blocks from the Film Institute is Bryn Mawr College, one of the original Seven Sisters colleges. Founded in 1885, the campus architecture is modeled on Oxford and Cambridge. Gothic buildings, stone towers, manicured grounds. On a clear morning, it is genuinely stunning. The college anchors Bryn Mawr's identity as a place of serious intellectual and cultural weight, and it contributes to a year-round educated, engaged demographic that has shaped this community for over a century. And then there's the Harriton House, a colonial-era farm with grounds that are open to the public, one of the oldest surviving structures on the main line, working historical demonstrations, a place that has been here since the 1600s and has been preserved rather than replaced. Bryn Mawr has been settled since the colonial era, and the community has chosen to remember that rather than pave over it. The housing stock in Bryn Mawr is predominantly stone, Wissahick and schist, and local fieldstone that defines the visual character of this part of the main line. Walking through Bryn Mawr's residential streets, you'll understand immediately why buyers from New York and Washington, D.C. specifically target the main line. This is the stone and slate aesthetic that cannot be replicated with new construction. It was built in a different era for a different way of living, and it has been maintained rather than replaced. Now, here's the most important thing to understand about Bryn Mawr before you make any offers. Bryn Mawr straddles 3 different municipalities, 3 different school districts. Lower Merion Township feeds Lower Merion School District, top 1 to 5 in Pennsylvania. Radnor Township feeds Radnor School District, also top 10 statewide. Haverford Township feeds Haverford Township School District. The zip code 19010 for all of them. The zip code tells you nothing. Your specific address determines your school district, and the price differential between Lower Merion and Radnor addresses in Bryn Mawr can be significant, so please know this before you tour. Home values in Bryn Mawr average approximately $864,000 by Zillow's index. Recent median sale prices have run $540 to $550, reflecting actual closed transactions, which skew toward the more accessible end of the market. The typical move-in ready stone single family in the village core trades between $600,000 and $950,000, and the estate properties on the larger residential streets push well above that. All right, next up is Villanova, and I have to be completely honest with you about my experience here. Villanova is absolute chaos to navigate. The students cross Lancaster Ave in swarms like geese, literal geese. You just have to stop and wait for the entire flock to cross. There is no gap, there is no yield. You just sit there in your car while an entire graduating year of the school crosses on green. On green, yes, they own the green. And eventually it clears and you move 3 feet and then it'll happen again. I say this not as a complaint, but as a genuine piece of information for any buyer considering Villanova. This is a living, active university community. Lancaster Ave through Villanova has the energy of a college town, and driving it feels nothing like the rest of the corridor. That energy is part of what you're buying when you buy a Villanova address. The university is not just a background, it's the foreground. Now, the university itself. Villanova University, the campus entrance, St. Thomas of Villanova Church with its twin towers visible from Lancaster Ave, the Gothic architecture in the morning light. This is genuinely one of the most beautiful settings on the entire main line. The church alone is worth seeing. And the university's physical presence, the scale of it, the grounds, the architectural quality sets the visual tone for the entire community. Here is the real estate fact about Villanova that explains everything about its pricing. The basketball program made this the most recognizable address on the main line nationally. Every March, millions of people filled out brackets and they see Villanova. They may never have visited Pennsylvania, they may have no connection to Philadelphia region whatsoever, but they know the name Villanova. And when those people, successful professionals, executives, people who can afford to choose any address, eventually look at Philadelphia suburban real estate, Villanova is a name they recognize and are predisposed to value. That name recognition creates demand from buyers who are not local, and demand from non-local buyers is the most durable form of real estate premium that exists because it never fully corrects. Villanova addresses are in Radnor Township and are served by Radnor Township School District, consistently top 10 in Pennsylvania. Radnor High School is a smaller, more intimate district than Lower Merion, so for buyers comparing Radnor to Lower Merion, both are exceptional. The distinction is size and program breadth versus intimacy and community cohesion. Home prices in Villanova typically start around $800,000 to $900,000 for smaller properties. The estate properties on the larger lots that define Villanova's image reach $2 million to $5 million and above. The median household income in Villanova exceeds $159,000, and this is one of the most affluent addresses in the entire corridor, and the pricing reflects it consistently. Wayne. And the first thing you see when you come into downtown Wayne on Lancaster Avenue is the Wayne Hotel, a Tudor revival building that has been operating since 1906. And that single building tells you everything you need to know about Wayne as a community. Someone decided that this town was worth staying in over a century ago, and nothing has changed that calculation. The Wayne Hotel has been here since 1906. The Wayne Art Center, which you can see just off Lancaster Ave, was founded in 1931 and is still thriving with classes for all ages and changing exhibitions. The Farmers Market has been running for decades. The restaurant strip along Lancaster Ave has evolved continuously while maintaining its character. Wayne is the commercial and cultural center of the Western Main Line, and it has been for over 100 years. Rosalie Wayne, right there in the hotel building, is one of the best restaurants on the corridor. Not the best for a suburb, the best period. Wayne has more quality independent restaurants per block than any other mainline community, and that concentration of good food reflects the income level and the taste level of the people who live here. The Art Center exterior is worth a look. The sculptures out front are the kind of thing you don't expect to find in a suburban town center. Wayne has been investing in cultural infrastructure since 1931. That's not a recent lifestyle amenity play, that's 9 decades of community deciding what it wants to be and funding it consistently. Wayne is in Radnor Township, same as Villanova, and is served by Radnor Township School District. If you're comparing Wayne to Ardmore, the school district difference is worth understanding specifically. Radnor versus Lower Merion, both are top 10 statewide. They are not the same, and the price differential between Radnor and Lower Merion addresses for comparable square footage reflects the market's view of that distinction. The average home price in Wayne and Radnor is approximately $1.23 million, up significantly year over year. Home ranges value from approximately $600,000 for entry-level properties to $3 million and above for premium estates in the quieter residential section. The core family market trades between $900,000 and $1.5 million for move-in ready colonials within walking distance of downtown. Wayne is very competitive. The Redfin competitiveness score is 76 out of 100. Well-priced homes in Wayne attract multiple offers. If you're buying here, you need to be prepared to move quickly, and you need an agent who understands the specific dynamics of this market. On to Devon. And Devon's entire identity can be summarized in one observation that I made standing there on Lancaster Avenue looking at what's directly in front of me. A horse show that has been running since 1896 and an anthropology are sharing the same parking lot. That's Devon. That's the complete story of Devon, Pennsylvania in one sentence. Equestrian heritage that predates the automobile, sitting directly adjacent to contemporary upscale retail. There is nowhere else on the main line, and honestly nowhere else in suburban America, where those two things coexist within 200 feet of each other. The Devon Horse Show is the oldest and largest outdoor multi-breed equestrian competition in North America. It runs for 10 days every spring. It draws competitors and spectators from across the country. The proceeds go to Bryn Mawr Hospital. And it happens in the middle of a residential neighborhood on Lancaster Avenue like it has for 128 consecutive years. Right next to it is Devon Yard, a high-end mixed-use development on the site of a former nursery. Terrain Garden Center, Anthropology, Terrain Cafe with a greenhouse dining room that is one of the most distinctive restaurant settings on the entire main line. Devon Yard is visually beautiful, particularly on a sunny day when the outdoor spaces are open and the garden center is in full display. Devon is served by Tredyffrin Easton School District, TE, which consistently ranks in the top 5 Pennsylvania school districts. Conestoga High School serves the district and is regarded as one of the best public high schools in the state. I drove past Conestoga on this trip, and the scale of that building tells you immediately what a top 5 Pennsylvania school district looks like in physical form. This is a serious academic institution housed in a serious building, and the families who move to Devon for TE know exactly what they're getting. Home prices in Devon range from approximately $600,000 to $1.1 million for the core single-family market. Premium properties near the horse show grounds and larger lots reach $1.5 to $2 million and above. And for buyers comparing Devon to Wayne, the same general price range, different character. Wayne has the commercial downtown, Devon has the equestrian heritage in Devon Yard. Which one resonates is a lifestyle question more than a financial one. Next up is Berwyn, and Berwyn has a specific identity on the main line that I want to describe accurately because it's different from everything else we've covered so far. Berwyn is the main line's food-forward alternative, less formal than Wayne, less equestrian than Devon, a better food and drink scene per capita than either of them. And this is the part that surprises buyers when they do the math: the same school district as Devon at slightly more accessible prices. Le Cabre Brewing, right here on Lancaster Ave, is the anchor of Berwyn's identity. One of the most acclaimed craft breweries in the Philadelphia region. A historic stone building, garage doors that open onto a sidewalk on warm days, an exceptional food program that stands completely on its own beyond the beer. Le Cabre is the reason most people outside the immediate area first hear the name Berwyn. They come for the brewery and they stay for the zip code. 75.7% of Berwyn residents hold a bachelor's degree or higher. 27.6% work remotely. The community's food and drink culture reflects this demographic exactly. It's not suburban chain restaurants, it's the kind of independent food culture that follows a high income, high education, work from home type of population, wherever they settle. Berwyn is served by Tredyffrin Easttown School District, same as Devon, same as Conestoga High School. Buyers who discover that Berwyn shares Devon's school district at slightly more accessible prices often stop their search right here. The school district question is settled. The question becomes whether Berwyn's character fits better than Devon's equestrian identity, and for a growing number of buyers, the answer is yes. Berwyn median home prices run approximately $835,000 to $942,000, with 24 days on the market. Very competitive. The market here has tightened significantly as buyers have discovered the value proposition. Entry-level properties start in the 550s. The core single-family market trades between $800,000 and $1.2 million. Paoli. Paoli has the single strongest infrastructure argument of any community on the Western Main Line. I want to lead with it because it's the thing that most buyers don't fully appreciate until they've done the math. The Paoli Transportation Center is the only location on the entire Western Main Line where the Amtrak Keystone Service and SEPTA Regional Rail share a platform. Amtrak Keystone to 30th Street Station in Philadelphia, 38 to 45 minutes. That's the fastest rail connection to Center City from any mainline community. It's faster than Wayne, faster than Devon, faster than Berwyn, and SEPTA Regional Rail on the same platform for additional frequency and local stops. For buyers who commute to Center City regularly, this platform is the most important piece of real estate infrastructure on the Western Corridor. You are buying access to this platform when you buy in Paoli. And here's the part that makes Paoli a specific and underappreciated value. Paoli prices run 15 to 20% below Berwyn and Devon for comparable square footage. Same corridor, same general area, best transit access on the entire corridor, and still priced at a discount to its eastern neighbors. That gap exists because Paoli doesn't have Devon's equestrian identity or Wayne's established downtown polish. What it has is a train station that gets you to Center City faster than anything to its east, and 2 elite school districts serving different Paoli addresses. And that brings me to the school district situation in Paoli, which is important to understand before you make any offers. Paoli is served by 2 different school districts depending on your specific address. Tredyffrin Easttown School District, same as Devon and Berwyn, top 5 in Pennsylvania. Conestoga High School and Great Valley School District, consistently top 10 statewide. Great Valley High School, both are exceptional. Neither is a compromise. The specific address determines which one you're in, and the price difference between TE and Great Valley addresses in Paoli can be meaningful. I drove past Conestoga High School while I was in the area, and I want to say this clearly. If you have never seen Conestoga High School in person, go look at it. The building itself communicates what a top 5 Pennsylvania school district looks like as a physical investment in its community. It's a serious institution housed in a serious building. Home prices in Paoli start around $300,000 for entry-level properties and townhomes. The core single-family market trades between $500,000 and $800,000, meaningfully below Berwyn and Devon. Premium properties reach $1.2 million and above. For buyers who have done the math and understand what the transportation infrastructure delivers, Paoli is frequently the most logical decision on the Western Corridor. On the way from Paoli to Malvern, I made a detour that I have to tell you about. I drove into Malvern Prep, one of the most prominent private schools on the main line. It's an Augustinian Catholic school that has been operating since 1842, and it produces some of the most recognizable alumni in Pennsylvania. The campus is genuinely impressive, but there's something I need to warn you about: the speed bumps. Malvern Prep has the worst speed bumps that I have ever encountered in my life, and I am not exaggerating for effect. These speed bumps are an engineering statement. They are saying in the clearest possible physical language that you will go 2 miles per hour on this campus or your car will be destroyed. I have driven on roads in many places and I have never experienced anything like the Malvern Prep speed bumps. 5 miles per hour is too fast to hit these speed bumps. They are serious about protecting their students and they have invested significantly in making that point felt through your suspension system. I mention this not just because it made me hit my head on the roof of my car going 10 miles per hour and call my mechanic, but because it tells you something about the culture of these mainline private schools. They are not casual institutions. They take themselves seriously. And apparently they take their speed limits very seriously as well. Malvern Prep sits in the community we're about to cover, Malvern Borough, and its presence signals something specific about the buyer profile here. A community that can sustain a private school of this caliber and history is a community with deep roots and significant investment in education at every single level. Malvern is the westernmost mainline community, and I want to tell you something about Malvern, and I think that is the most important real estate observation in this entire episode. Malvern is the town that buyers find last and leave alone. They start their search in Wayne, they look at Devon, they consider Berwyn, they do the math on Paoli, and then they find Malvern. And they realize that every community to the east costs more, and that Malvern delivers most of what they were looking for at prices that still reflect its position at the end of the corridor rather than its center. East King Street in Malvern Borough is a genuine small-town main street that most people outside the immediate area have never heard of. The Flying Pig Saloon, a neighborhood bar with the kind of character that only exists in a town with real community roots. Brick and Brew, wood-fired pizza, craft beer, a moss wall interior that surprises first-time visitors who expected generic suburban dining. The Buttery. This is the place that Malvern locals don't want you to know about because they don't want the wait there to get longer. House-made pastries, great coffee, farmhouse aesthetic, the kind of cafe that exists in communities where residents have decided what they value and built their daily life around it. This is not a chain filling a commercial strip. This is Malvern telling you who it is. The deeper real estate connection, a community that sustains an independent cafe like this has a specific income level and a specific set of priorities. The same demographic that supports the Buttery is the demographic that drives the demand for Great Valley School District access and Route 202 pharmaceutical corridor employment proximity. You don't build the Buttery in a community that isn't already exceptional. It exists because of who lives here. These are not chain restaurants filling a commercial strip. These are independent businesses that reflect a community that has developed its own culinary identity. Throughout this entire trip, I've been taking pictures of houses in the surrounding neighborhoods, and I want to address something that shows up in every Malvern neighborhood I drove through. The houses here have specific quality, established, well-maintained, on meaningful lots, surrounded by mature tree canopy that you can only get in a community that's been built out for decades. This is what Bucks and Chester County residential living looks like when it's at its most comfortable. Not flashy, not new, settled. Malvern is served by Great Valley School District, consistently ranked in the top 10 Pennsylvania school districts. Competing annually for top 5 positions, Great Valley High School offers strong academics and comprehensive programs. For buyers comparing Great Valley to Tredyffrin and Easttown, the practical quality difference is smaller than the name recognition gap suggests. Great Valley simply has less national visibility than TE, despite delivering outcomes that are genuinely comparable. That visibility gap is part of why Malvern is still priced below its eastern neighbors. And then there's the Route 202 pharmaceutical corridor. Malvern sits at the junction of the main line and Route 202, one of the most significant pharmaceutical and biotech employment corridors in the United States. AstraZeneca, Siemens, dozens of major employers within minutes. For buyers in the pharmaceutical or biotech careers who are currently commuting from Philadelphia or points east, Malvern's location eliminates that commute entirely. That's a specific and structural employment advantage that contributes to Malvern's price trajectory. Amtrak at Paoli is 5 minutes away by car. King of Prussia is 15 to 22 minutes north on Route 202. Center City, Philadelphia off-peak is 40 to 50 minutes. Median home value in Malvern is approximately $799,000 and rising steadily. Entry-level properties start in the 400,000s. The core market trades between 600,000 and 900,000. Premium properties will reach 1.5 million and above. And for buyers who have done the math, Morehouse, Great Valley School District, Route 202, Employment Access, Amtrak 5 minutes away, at prices still below Berwyn and Devon, Malvern is frequently the answer that was sitting at the end of the corridor the whole time. The main line ends here. The Pennsylvania Railroad's original 1832 route ends here, and for an increasing number of buyers doing their research on this corridor, the search ends here too. So let me give you the honest summary of what I observed during the entire mainline trip from Ardmore to Malvern on a clear day in April. Every town on this corridor has a specific identity that is not interchangeable with any other. Ardmore is the outdoor mall with no roof, the most walkable and accessible entry into the most expensive township in Pennsylvania. Bryn Mawr is the independent movie theater and the Seven Sisters College, more cultural infrastructure per square mile than anywhere on the corridor. Villanova is March Madness, made permanent real estate premium. Wayne is the hotel that's been there since 1906 that built a community around it. Devon is 1896 equestrian heritage sharing a parking lot with anthropology. Berwyn is La Cabra and the same school district as Devon at slightly more accessible prices. Paoli is the fastest train to Center City on the entire corridor at a 15 to 20% discount to its neighbors. And Malvern is the town you find when you've been looking everywhere else and you finally do the math. The through lines that connect all of them, you are never far from a SEPTA station. The school districts are among the strongest in Pennsylvania. The housing stock has a visual coherence, stone, slate, mature trees, established neighborhoods that you don't find in communities built in the last 30 years. And everyone is in a rush. If you're a buyer trying to decide which mainline community fits your situation, the answer depends on what you're optimizing for. School district, commute, walkability, price per square foot, character, employment, proximity. Each town answers those questions differently, and the right answer for you is specific to your circumstances. That's the conversation I have with every buyer I work with on the main line. Which of these towns actually fits your life? Not which one sounds the best or has the most recognizable name, the one that fits your commute, your school priorities, your budget, and the kind of community you want to live in. Text me at 267-934-5674 and we'll figure out which one that is. Links to the individual town guides for every community we covered today are in the description. All the market data, school district specifics, and honest comparisons are on each page. All right, that is the complete mainline road trip. 8 towns, 1 corridor, 1 day. If this video helped you understand what the mainline actually is and what community might fit you the best, hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already, and share this with anyone you know who is thinking about buying or moving into this area. This is exactly the kind of content that they need before they start touring. And if you're ready to have a real conversation about buying or selling anywhere on the main line or in Bucks County, Montgomery County, I'm Josh Wernick, Realtor. Text me at 267-934-5674. Same day response. Let's figure out which mainline town is actually the right fit for your situation. And I will see you on the next one.